From somewhere in beautiful downtown Burbank, NBC once more tries to prevent...
Warning. This radio show may be hazardous to the establishment media. You are about to embark on a cultural and intellectual journey steeped in sound. Bassists, composers, and authors David C. Gross and Tommaso Semioli welcome you to Notes from an Artist, featuring interviews, music, and auditory collages. Together, you will explore artistry that knows no boundaries, challenges the status quo, and sparks your imagination. David and Tommaso know the rules and how to break them. Don't touch that dial. Buy the ticket. Take the ride. Get in on the conversation. Get in. Notes from an Artist. Notes from an Artist.
Susie?
Yes.
Susie Cream Cheese?
Yes.
This is the voice of your conscience, baby. I just want to check one thing out with you. You don't mind, do you?
What?
Susie Cream Cheese, honey, what's got into you?
Who are the brain police?
Very interesting.
What do you mean, very interesting? It was stupid.
Yes, it was stupid. But it was also very interesting.
Hi there, nice to be with you. Happy you could stick around. Like to introduce Legs Larry Smith, drums. And Sam Spoon's rhythm pole. And Vern Dudley Bohay Knoll, bass guitar. And Neil Innes, piano. Come in, Rodney Slater on the saxophone. With Roger Ruskin Spear on tenor sax. Hi, Vivian Stanchel, trumpet. Big hello to
David, let me introduce Stix Hooper to our audience, okay? Nesbert Stix Hooper, I might add. He is a...
Shame on you!
Well, if it's on the internet, Stix.
Okay.
It must be true.
It must be true. He is a performing and recording artist. He is a founding member of the Jazz Crusaders. He has recorded several albums under his own name, and he was vice chairman of the National Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences, and you were the president of its Los Angeles chapter. How did that happen?
Well, I thought that they believed that I could do the job and or be responsible for what was to be. But unfortunately, it didn't work out that way eventually, because now, as you can record this, which I don't care, if the Academy is no longer what it used to be.
Okay. And you are also a radio personality, KJZ.
Well, that's true. I had a broadcast on KJazz FM, which is the station in Los Angeles. And,
and it was Lay It on the Line, right?
Lay It on the Line, that's true.
Okay. Now, David, check this out. Downbeat and Playboy, your favorite magazine, named Stix their best drummer 10 times. You made the best drummer. Do you get a free subscription to Downbeat and Playboy when you win those polls?
Yeah, I had to pay for that, you know. They chose that they thought that I was worthy of them giving me that accolade, and so yes, that is true. And they're good magazines that have done a lot for jazz and for music per se.
Yes, they have, certainly. David, Stix's collaborations include Quincy Jones, B.B. King, the Rolling Stones, you remember them, Elton John, Grover Washington, Hubert Laws, Nancy Wilson, Marvin Gaye, Eric Clapton, Hugh Masekela, George Shearing, Les McCann, I'm running out of breath here, and the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra of London, among others. And nice work if you can get it, Stix.
Yeah, really. I was lucky to get a couple of gigs, you know.
Along the way. Well, it's interesting, you know, just to jump ahead a few years, you work with the Philharmonic Orchestra of London, and your most recent record is Orchestrally Speaking. And it's, the orchestral remake of some of your classic compositions. What inspired you to do that record?
Well, I felt that music can be put in different kinds of settings, and particularly jazz musicians have always placed themselves into orchestral background things with strings, et cetera, et cetera. And depending on the composition, it can be an enhancement to present the music. And I wanted to do that per se and make that the main focal point. And it was very, very rewarding to me. And I was working with a very, very competent uh, worker with me that's a great orchestrator by the name of Eugene Maslov, who is a
Right.
Russian pianist and composer, and we worked together on to put that record together.
Yeah. And how was it to trade your drumsticks for a different stick, a baton, to lead the orchestra?
It was great. It was to do that. You know, it's nice to be at the helm when you can shake a stick at the people. You know what I mean?
And the record swings, which you don't see on most jazz orchestral albums.
Yeah, that is true. You always got to have some kind of a pulsation or groove, if you want to call it, a tempo thing that has some momentum. So I wanted to keep that within a certain framework, but yet have the orchestral things where you have the different degrees of uh, both the pianissimos to the fortissimos and to the all of the different tempo variations, and it just shows that playing jazz-oriented things can be placed in a setting that has variety of input.
Oh, exactly. And you actually, I guess in the beginning were involved with the Houston Symphony as well, correct?
That is true. My friend who passed on, Joe Sample, and we worked with the Houston Symphony for a while. In fact, kind of ironically, even though we're instrumentalists, we sang in the chorus for Aida, Verdi's
Wow.
Aida. And so we've had experiences beyond just as instrumentalists, particularly working with the Houston Symphony Orchestra, which gave us a lot of leeway into becoming musicians and seeing the variety of both vocal and instrumental work.
Well, I've got to be honest. When I was a young cherub trying to get into studio work, there were three records, well, actually four records, and you laugh at the fourth one because it's the Crusaders East. So put it where you want it, scratch, and my favorite of all favorites was Southern Comfort. I thought both Stomp and Buck Dance and The Well's Gone Dry are like two of my favorite tunes. And the fourth record that actually fit in perfectly is Stuff.
Ah, wow, you really had a variety of things. Yeah, the well's gone dry. That was a typical thing that happened when you didn't get any rain, if you know what I'm trying to say. So the aqua scene got kind of limited, but we've had a variety of things, and of course, titles always represent the what's going on with the composition, and you definitely crossed a different variety of things that we were involved with, and there was a lot of collaborative things that happened within the framework of the Jazz Crusaders and the Crusaders. And one of the first thing that was, you said swinging record, which was written by Wayne Henderson, is kind of interesting because the title and the speed speaks for itself, called The Young Rabbits.
I get it.
Well,
Yeah, really. Yeah, we could that was a main thing, and not a main thing, but in Texas, when the rabbits spring out, well, they were going fast. And if you get a chance to look at the video on that, you can see how fast we were playing on that particular record, and that was the inspiration. And all compositions have some kind of an inspiration, either with the title or the purpose or whatever.
Sure. Another thing that Tom and I brought up is you basically have led a very entrepreneurial life. And I feel so many musicians need to know more about being entrepreneurs. You're your own business. And you
right, you
really,
were in the Jazz Crusaders business, 1960. You go from Houston to Los Angeles. That must have been a cultural shock.
Yeah, that was a very much of a cultural shock in more ways than one, which I won't go into all of the details. But at least I guess I had the impact and the charisma to get all of the musicians to take their individual cars to drive to Los Angeles. And you coming from Houston to Los Angeles, we chose to go there because we thought that there would be a place that we could at least possibly have a career development and also a backyard as opposed to going to New York, which was considered more or less a mecca of where musicians were to be. And eventually I joked with Horace Silver about that. I said we went to the West Coast because uh, we wanted to at least have a backyard instead of walk out on the sidewalk in New York, you know. And so it was a lot of fun. There's inspiration about the things. We have a lot of good moments and it was really fun. And so that's what it was about. And I'm just glad to still be around and to be able to do things and to have worked in such a variety of things, like you said, with different musicians, different settings, different players from actually you say from Elton John to Eric Clapton, you know.
What in terms of but in 1960 for you to become your own band leader was pretty significant. Were there any band leaders in particular that you worked for that inspired you?
No, not really, because my inspiration was in high school with our musical uh, director or the school teacher who was a band leader and band director there. And his inspiration to learn to be a good musician was primarily it. But there were a couple of bands that I listened to. Of course, you know, if you listen to music, you got to hear Duke Ellington, you got to hear Count Basie and people like that, you know.
Sure.
But my inspiration was primarily within a school setting.
That George Magruder was your director, yes?
That is true.
Yeah, yeah, okay. So that's still a very, very solid foundation. And when you got to LA, even though you were, rooted in hard bop, you had more of a slant towards rhythm and blues and soul music. How was that accepted in Los Angeles in 1960?
Ah, that's interesting. It was questionable because the West Coast jazz scene was altogether different, and I don't want to get into certain particulars about it, but it was definitely I won't call any names, but you probably knew who was in that movement, and so it did not have the R&B influence or that kind of an inspiration with the chord progressions and all of those things. So it was something that we had to maintain our purpose for that and to convince people that that was something that they should pay attention to other than what was happening with just covering just the standards, which you know what the standards are, in
Right.
considered American standards.
Tell me about, I was reading, Grace sent us some information. You're the most sampled drummer. That's a remarkable feat.
Yeah, that's true. I wish I could get paid for all the times I've been down. But the way that the techno world works, sometimes you get lost in the wind.
We were interviewing the guitar player from a group called Roxy Music, and he told us this story that he gets a phone call from, I guess it was BMG Publishing, and they said to him, "You're going to be very, very happy. Kanye West sampled a part of your song." And he didn't even remember which song it was. Then about 3 weeks later, he gets a call from another record company. And once again, you're going to be really happy about this. And essentially, he said he made more money off of this one sample for Kanye than he did in his entire career with Roxy Music.
Yeah, that makes sense because nowadays, at least some of the laws are so out there and they're so prevalent that people have to acknowledge the fact of sampling,
Yeah.
particularly when it's straightforward and it's obvious that that was the case. And so you get, of course, the term royalties, and you get money from doing that. But because fortunately we get paid, the people who sample get paid, but unfortunately the artists that are making the big bucks from it are the ones that couldn't do it unless they would have sampled.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, that's a whole other case. We had Ron Carter on the show 4 times, and one time, Stix, he only talked about his wardrobe. So we only
He
that's
went
the
into
next.
his closet to get shoes to show us that matched his socks.
So we will definitely have a Stix Hooper haberdashery fashion show later. But I wanted to. Ron told us, David, that he has a lawyer on retainer, and his job is to find Ron Carter samples and get royalties from them. And I guess now with artificial intelligence, you can probably do that a lot more accurately.
Yeah, it can do it a little bit more accurate. It's still a big thing to deal with. You still need an attorney and legal help to do that because the artificial intelligence are not exactly artificial. They're intelligent and they know how they know how to get past you, you know. But if you do get it, when people realize that they're putting themselves in a position where they could be sued or something, they
Right.
have to be pretty much straightforward and coming forth. But AI is an unusual situation we're dealing with right now. So
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Now the business of music has changed. We went from LPs to cassettes to CDs to streaming, and now you can have a million songs at your fingertips. What are your thoughts on the Crusaders now being streamed?
well, all I know is there's subsequent royalties that come from that, especially to me, particularly with the things that uh, were my compositions, because I don't deal with the things that are streamed from the Crusaders, the Jazz Crusaders, as much because they were more or less involved with the authenticity of the recording company or the
Mm,
label.
Uh-huh.
But it is something now that people have to be more forthcoming because with things being heard so much, it's pretty hard for them to dance around the fact that they didn't sample something or whatever.
right. Yeah. I think Clyde Stubblefield is up there with the samples too. I think he's all his James Brown stuff is you hear it on so many hip hop records.
Yeah, that's true, you know, and like I said, some of that music was so authentic. And again, I'm not putting down the most contemporary musicians, but the grooves and the rhythms and the figures and the chord progressions and all those things. Um, Most of the current people don't have the knowledge about that, so they have to sample that and expand on it a little bit in order to get a recording out there. And you know, and all due respect for the hip hop movement and all that stuff, I mean, people never even heard of Eddie Jefferson and all that stuff, you know,
Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
stuff 1,000 years ago, you know.
Well, I think a lot of that has to do with our education system.
Well, I won't go there because we have such a brilliant president, so we shouldn't talk about that.
No, no, no. I think back. I think the people who grew up in the 60s and the 70s were the last to get actual real music education classes in their schools where they actually had instruments in their hands. I mean, I started when I was 3, I started on piano. At 7, I had a clarinet. My sister took me to see A Hard Day's Night, and there was no way in hell I was going to get any girls playing clarinet. So I ended up with the bass.
Yeah.
But
Did you get girls when you started playing bass, David?
that's true. I got lots of girls. They told me to stop playing bass. Uh, but no, seriously, it just strikes me that the knowledge that we grew up with, having to listen to records and listening to full records back and forth and reading the covers, there was an education that streaming does not allow. And
Right.
I guarantee most kids, I have a 21-year-old daughter graduating college, and she, of course, doesn't even go to Wikipedia to find out who's doing one. She'll call me and say, Dad, who did this? And things of that ilk. So I think part of the issue is just the laziness and the fact that they don't want to do the hard work to do the
To get the same foundation you
scales,
did,
the thing.
yeah, at Wheatley High School. And I mean, music was part of my education in the 1970s. And I try to impart to young musicians, it's easier to play when you know what you're doing.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
Wow.
Yeah. But now you went from being the Jazz Crusaders to the Crusaders, but you never really lost your identity as a band. And I think of the Crusaders almost in the way that I think of artists like Miles Davis or even the Beatles, where even though the band evolved, um, you knew it was them. And of course, you had to make a conscious evolution in the 1970s because the music business was changing.
Yeah, that is very true, and also to interrelate with what not only what was changing, but other people in other genres of music to respect, because we had a major hit on a Beatles song called Eleanor Rigby.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, and because but the point is that you get inspired by what other people are doing, and not because they're successful, but if there's some ingredient of good musicianship there, good music, you do it. It becomes like doing the standards. Whether you're doing one of the standards, I won't call it names because I don't want them to. You know what the standards are, but that kind of a interrelating factor of music being so universal and so being able to be appealing to people not necessarily stylized in a certain genre, and it's just a matter of accepting, okay, Elton John wrote this, so therefore it's good. So what? It's not a jazz song, but it's a good melody. You know what I mean?
Right,
That's for
and
sure.
and Elton had some jazz and rhythm and blues chops. Now, David and I are bass players, and among our favorite bass players are Wilton Felder and Pops Popwell. Now, it's just remarkable to me how many great records Wilton played on.
Oh, he played on a lot of them. Except Barry White would probably be Barry Black if it wasn't. No, really, but he had unusual, besides being a great tenor player and a good writer and all those things, he liked the bass, the electric bass,
Yeah,
not so much the acoustic bass. And he developed a technique that was very unusual, and musicians copied him, and in fact, he was the inspiration even for Pops Popwell.
well, I'll tell you also, Wilton inspired Jaco Pastorius. And when you listen to him and Jaco side by side on the Joni Mitchell album, you have to check the credits to see who played what.
Yeah, that is true. But if you really check the credits and see the songs, you can pretty much tell the difference between Jaco and Wilton, because Jaco was more articulate in maneuvering the bass as a solo instrument,
Right.
more so than playing the groove or the pocket on the thing as Wilton was.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's interesting to see Jaco on the live Joni Mitchell record, and I saw it in person, where he would appropriate Wilton's lines on the tracks that Wilton played. So
Yeah, yeah, it's really interesting. It's just it's well, like I said, music is always a cross section
yeah,
of talent, musicianship, respect for the style in which you're playing, the artist in which you're working with, or whether you're enhancing your own personal career. So all of those factors have to come into play in order to move forward on your instrument, in particular on the bass or
yeah,
any instrument. And certainly with my instrument, I mean, I was inspired by Max Roach, but when I got a chance to become friends with him, he would always say he, to me, I don't play the groove like you can play, but then he was had the spontaneity and creativity way beyond some of the things that I would even be able to do.
yeah, yeah. And tell us about Pops Popwell. I mean, he was we're talking groove machine here, and quite an animated performer as well.
Yeah, Groove Machine, and the gentleman that worked playing bass for. You ever heard of James Jamerson?
Of
Yeah,
course.
we slightly.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, well, I won't go into the story about him, but he joined the band so he could go and join the band and get out of Motown land, if you know what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah. I met him when out in LA when he was I'm at Motown Studios, as a matter of fact. Really nice man.
Oh, he was a very nice man, very talented. Never got the credit and
The money.
the means of what he contributed to Motown records
Yeah.
because none of those records, particularly he played, would not, if he wouldn't have played on, wouldn't have happened. They wouldn't have had the groove,
Without
wouldn't
a
have had the
doubt.
pocket. The artist would not have been enhanced by his creativity and all of that stuff. So literally, he jumped into, we were riding in a van and said, I want to join the band and go with you guys and play some different stuff, you know.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, it was nice to see James get his due in standing in the shadows of Motown, and then of course later in the '70s, record credits became more common, so you get to see who played on what. So
Yeah, that's true, and that's one of the big problems now that we don't have with the streaming and all that stuff. And at least on the vinyls and on the thing, you could read what was happening on things, you know. And none of that stuff is really announced now when you're listening on the digital stuff, you know, right now. You know, it's just so different. So people are just kind of guessing and assuming that this is what it is. Don't know the context of which it was done or don't. That's one of the sad things of what has happened with the music scene.
Yeah.
yeah, right. We don't get our credit as due. Now, Stix, before you go, we got to ask you, what's on your bucket list? What can we expect from the future of Stix Hooper?
I'm gonna go have a chitlin sandwich. No, I want to stay in the business as long as I am. Like I said, I'm 21 now and I get 22. I want to be able to continue play, and even though I'm not religious, to be blessed to perform and to write music and to enhance the music scene. And the lady that's been supporting me for the past 30 years is still supporting me and making the transition herself to find out how the music business has changed so much to the point that it has become a challenge now to even be involved in music to get your stuff to surface, you know?
Well, they probably have to have the same attitude like you did when you went to LA, that you have to look at it as your own business.
Yeah, that is true. And that's what I'm doing now, looking at my own business, and it became me more of an entrepreneur, like you said earlier, about me being involved with the academy and being a talent manager of people that I thought were very, very good. You've heard of a singer by the name of Ernestine Anderson, which is part of the reason why I ended up in Washington area.
Huh.
Uh, and I literally managed her and encouraged her to write a couple of things that we worked together with, you know. So I always like to expand myself beside playing the groove, you know, and be to touch base with the other things that are important that are related to being a musician, being involved in the music scene, and respecting things that were not necessarily instrumental or the vocal. So I had a good relationship working with Ernestine Anderson, who was a really, really great singer. By the way, happened to be another Houstonian.
Huh.
All right, that's great. All right, Stix, thanks for talking with us. We'll send you links when the podcast is up and running, and we'll break the internet like a Kardashian.
Okay, good. I'm ready. Thank you, and I'm gonna go now have my chitlin sandwich, and
All
I'm
right.
ready.
Enjoy. Take care, Stix. Thanks for
All
talking.
right, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
You gotta fucking be kidding me, kidding me, kidding me. How dare you call yourselves professional?
Through unforeseen circumstances, this show will remain on the air until further notice.